So this book was sad and terrible and just heartbreaking, but it was also beautiful and unforgettable. In fact, I think that this is a book that will replay itself. Scenes from it will come back to my mind for many years to come, and I will think about it often. The Women of Brewster Place by Gloria Naylor is a novel that is actually 7 short stories, each of them about a different woman. And what makes that so wonderful is that you really feel like you get to know these women. You hear about you kind of like get to step into her skin for a little while, and you hear about her pains and her struggles and just the things that she goes through, and it makes you really able to identify with these characters. But then the stories also come together, and you see how these women, in the midst of their struggles and their pains, how their stories touch one another, and how their friendships make what would probably be unbearable, make it actually doable, and make it where they can get up from day to day and keep moving forward. Brewster Place is an apartment complex somewhere in a city up north. I'm not exactly sure where. It doesn't say exactly where it is, but it's in a area that has been walled off from the commercial district. Most of these women did not necessarily choose to live there, but their life circumstances have kind of forced them to live there. The novel takes place sometime after the civil rights movement. I'm thinking it's a number of years, maybe even like some decades long the stories are. So, but that gives you an idea of when it was. If you have watched any of my other videos, you'll know that I'm reading one book each week this year in 2025. And earlier in January, I read Boys in the Boat, and I read The Worst Hard Time, which is about the American Dust Bowl. And when I read those, thought these are good books about resilience. And I still think that they are, but this book sort of even takes that theme to a whole new level. The Women of Brewster Place really is a book about suffering and being able to keep going. The women in these stories have faced major loss in their lives, and it's interesting. They have loved very hard. Unfortunately, they've made some mistakes, and sometimes love causes us to do that. We don't always act like ourselves when we love someone so deeply, and they find that those who they love the most are pretty typically the ones who hurt them the most, and tend to be the root or the source of some of their largest struggles. But it is precisely this love that they're capable of giving, and the losses that they've experienced that help them, that make them be able to love and support each other in a way that helps them to carry on. Now, I will say, there is an ugly element in this book as well. We find that those who were often the victims of prejudice are the very one, they have the capability of turning around and being the perpetrators of it as well. We see that when a lesbian couple moves into the community, and they are treated by some of these women, not all of them, they are treated by them in a very ugly manner. And it's a reminder that really somewhere inside of all of us, there's probably the ability to be uncaring and unfair and just wrong. I really don't want to say too much about the book. I don't want to give things away, and besides, I know that my talking would never really do it justice, but I will say it is a book that you need to read. It is the kind of book that makes a classic. I always think a classic is one that somehow changes you in some way. It's one that keeps coming back to you. You don't just put it down and forget about it. And this book was published in the 80s and is still in publication, and I can see why. It just, yeah, it's just one that you should read. I didn't realize that it actually, in the late 80s, was turned into a mini series. Oprah Winfrey did that. So that's exciting to know. I'm going to actually watch that, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. So, to, I guess, continue with the theme, and the next book that I'm going to be reading this coming week is How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram, I guess that's how you say, X. Kendi. This book was a #1 New York Times bestseller and was on the list of top books in 2019 by the New York Times, listed as one of the top notable books. It is a book that my husband gave me last Christmas, as in like 2023, and it has been on my shelf and I still haven't read it, and it is time. Because while I would never say that I'm a racist person, I don't think that I am. I do recognize that there is a difference between not being racist and being anti-racist. So I want to explore that topic, if that's the right word. I want to read about that and see, I don't know, where maybe I can be a peacemaker in the world in some way. So anyway, thank you for watching this video. And if you want to follow along, I'll be posting a video each Sunday during the year 2025. Have a great week.